The quantum displays aboard the Valkyric flagship Eternal Dawn painted Earth's orbital defenses in precise detail. Admiral Xerath's primary eyes narrowed as he studied the seemingly sparse arrangement of satellites and outdated weapon platforms. His secondary eyes, positioned along his scaled cranial ridge, remained fixed on the real-time analysis of human communication channels. "Primitive," he announced to his bridge crew, his resonant voice carrying the weight of centuries of Valkyric military tradition. Their most advanced weapons still rely on chemical propulsion and crude nuclear fission. The bridge crew, each chosen from the elite of the Empire's military academies, shared knowing looks with their four eyes. Earth's response to their arrival had been typically unsophisticated. Instead of a unified planetary government, 17 different nations had attempted to make first contact simultaneously. The resulting cacophony of diplomatic signals had been almost painful to their advanced communications arrays. "Send the standard terms of submission," Xerath commanded, his scaled fingers dancing across the neural interface of his command throne. Classification: Primitive Species Grade 3. Offer them the basic protectorate package. His first officer, Commander Ixel, approached with characteristic precision. "Sir, the Behavioral Analysis Division has submitted some concerning reports about human historical patterns." "Oh." Xerath's secondary eyes swiveled toward her, while his primary pair remained fixed on the tactical display. "Do enlighten me." "They show remarkable adaptability in warfare, sir. Their military history suggests." "Their military history involves throwing metal at each other and occasionally splitting atoms," Xerath interrupted. "Hardly worth a detailed analysis. The Valkyric Empire has incorporated thousands of species into its protection. Humans will be no different." The terms of submission were broadcast planet-side in all major human languages. The response came faster than expected. A single unified message from something called the United Earth Defense Council. "Plain response, sir," the communications officer announced. A human female appeared on the main display. Her dark skin contrasted sharply with a crisp white uniform adorned with simple rank insignias. "This is Admiral Chen of the United Earth Defense Council. We appreciate your offer of protection, but Earth and humanity respectfully decline. We would instead propose open diplomatic relations and cultural exchange." Laughter rippled through the bridge. Xerath himself felt his scales ripple with amusement. "They decline? How quaint." He gestured to his tactical officer. "Show them why that's not an option." The tactical display updated, revealing the full might of the Valkyric invasion fleet emerging from quantum space. 500 ships, each carrying enough firepower to level a continent, arranged themselves in the Empire's standard combat formation. "Sir," his sensor officer interrupted, "I'm detecting some unusual energy fluctuations from their lunar installations. Probably their primitive fission reactors struggling to power their defensive systems." Xerath dismissed. "Prepare for the standard subjugation sequence. Target their primary military installations first, then governmental centers. Minimal civilian casualties. They'll be more useful as productive members of the Empire." The fleet moved into attack position, their quantum drives humming with barely contained power. Xerath allowed himself a moment of satisfaction. Another primitive species about to learn its place in the greater galaxy. That's when the sensor officer's voice cracked with confusion. "Sir, the energy readings. I've never seen anything like this. It's as if space itself is." The tactical display exploded with alerts. Where empty space had existed moments before, something impossible appeared. The sensors couldn't seem to decide if it was there or not. The readings flickered between nothing and something massive. "What trickery is this?" Xerath demanded, all four eyes now focused intently on the anomaly. Commander Ixel's voice carried a note of fear. "Sir, those behavioral analysis reports I mentioned. They indicated humans have an unusual fixation on something called stealth technology in their military fiction." The flickering sensor readings suddenly stabilized, revealing what had been hiding in plain sight. A massive vessel, easily the size of the eternal dawn, seemed to phase into existence. Its hull was covered in geometric patterns that seemed to hurt the eyes if viewed directly, and its design was unlike anything in the Valkyric database. "Impossible," Serath whispered. "No primitive species could have developed quantum phase technology. The energy requirements alone." The human vessel's response came not in words, but in action. Its hull began to shift, panels sliding apart to reveal weapon ports. But these weren't the crude chemical weapons they'd expected. The energy readings from those ports matched nothing in their database. "Sir," Commander Ixel said quietly, "I believe we may have made a terrible mistake in our initial assessment." Serath could only watch as more ships began to phase into existence around his fleet. The humans hadn't been primitive at all. They'd simply been invisible. And now his fleet found itself surrounded by an enemy they'd foolishly underestimated. The same human admiral appeared on their screens again. This time, there was no diplomatic smile. "Perhaps now you'd like to discuss those diplomatic relations." Exarath's scales rippled with a very different emotion than amusement. The Valkyric Empire had made first contact with countless species, but for the first time in his long career, he felt something he'd never expected to feel toward a primitive species: fear. 6 months earlier, in the depths of humanity's secret lunar facility, Darkside, Dr. Sarah Chen, sister of Admiral Chen, stood before the assembled military leadership of Earth. The massive underground chamber, carved into the moon's perpetually shadowed polar crater, housed humanity's greatest technological achievement, the prototype quantum phase drive. Project Shadowblade began 15 years ago, Dr. Chen explained, her hands moving through the holographic display, showing the first alien signals detected at the edge of the solar system. When we discovered we weren't alone in the universe, we also discovered something troubling. Every transmission we intercepted spoke of empires, protectorates, and subjugation. The assembled generals and admirals watched as she brought up another hologram, this one showing the geometric patterns that covered the hull of Earth's new vessels. We knew we couldn't match them ship for ship, gun for gun, not with conventional technology. So we went in a different direction. The patterns in the hologram began to shift, demonstrating the principles behind humanity's breakthrough. Traditional stealth technology tries to absorb or deflect detection methods. We decided to do something different. We decided to make our ships exist in a quantum superposition. Admiral Santos of Brazil leaned forward. "In layman's terms, Doctor, we made ships that exist in multiple states simultaneously, both here and not here. When fully engaged, our vessels phase slightly out of normal space-time. Any scanning technology, no matter how advanced, reads us as background quantum fluctuations. To their sensors, we're literally indistinguishable from the quantum foam of space itself." The room erupted in murmurs as the implications sank in. Humanity had achieved what countless alien civilizations had deemed impossible: true invisibility at the quantum level. "The energy requirements must be astronomical," General Zhang of the Chinese Space Force observed. Dr. Chen smiled. "That was our second breakthrough. We discovered a way to harness zero-point energy from the quantum vacuum itself. The more we phase out of normal space-time, the more energy we can extract. The system is practically self-sustaining." The hologram shifted to show the full fleet, 30 ships of varying sizes, all equipped with the quantum phase drive. "We've been testing the technology in plain sight for years. Those UFO sightings that even our best radar couldn't explain. That was us, practicing phase shifts in atmosphere." "And weapons?" Admiral Santos asked. "That's where it gets interesting." The hologram zoomed in on one of the ship's weapon ports. "By manipulating the phase state of projectiles, we can fire weapons that partially exist in normal space. They pass through conventional shields as if they weren't there. We've also developed phase-shifted energy weapons that operate on similar principles." The room fell silent as the implications sank in. Earth had not only developed a perfect defense, but also the means to defeat any known alien technology. The key was thinking differently, Dr. Chen continued. Alien civilizations focused on bigger ships, stronger weapons, more powerful shields. We focused on fundamental physics, the nature of reality itself. While they built better guns, we learned to walk between moments of time. And the aliens don't suspect? General Zhang asked. Admiral Chen, who had been quietly observing, stepped forward. No. Our public orbital defenses are deliberately outdated. We've been broadcasting altered technological data for years. As far as they know, we're still struggling to achieve reliable fusion power. Speaking of power, Dr. Chen added, bringing up new diagrams, the quantum phase drive has another advantage. By extracting zero-point energy, we've solved humanity's energy crisis. Once this technology goes public, it will transform every aspect of human civilization. The holograms shifted to show simulated battle scenarios. But first, we need to ensure our independence. The alien empires out there see us as primitive, easy prey. They need to learn that humanity won't be so easily subjugated. Admiral Chen took over the briefing. We've detected a large alien fleet approaching the solar system. Based on their communications, they're from something called the Galactic Empire. They'll likely offer us the choice between submission and destruction. And when they do, someone asked, we let them think they have us outgunned. Admiral Chen said with a grim smile, we let them think we're primitive and helpless, and then we show them exactly how dangerous it is to underestimate humanity. Dr. Chen's final hologram showed the full battle plan, Earth's apparent weak defenses, the hidden phase-shifted fleet, and the carefully planned trap. For years, they've looked at our solar system and seen what we wanted them to see. Now it's time to show them what we've really been doing out here in the dark. The assembled leaders began to discuss the finer points of the strategy, but there was no debate about the core decision. Humanity would not submit. They had prepared for this moment, developed technology that defied the conventional wisdom of the galaxy, and now they would use it to secure their place among the stars. As Dr. Chen watched the military leaders plan humanity's defense, she couldn't help but smile. The aliens thought they were coming to subjugate a primitive species. Instead, they were about to become an object lesson in why humanity's greatest strength had always been its ability to innovate, to think differently, and to turn apparent weakness into unprecedented strength. Admiral Chen stood on the bridge of the EDS Nightshade, Earth's first quantum phase vessel, as her fleet materialized around the Galactic invasion force. The alien ships, despite their advanced technology, suddenly looked vulnerable, like predators that had wandered into a trap. All ships maintain phase sync at 15%, she ordered, just enough to remain visible. The geometric patterns on the Nightshade's hull shifted subtly, settling into a state of partial quantum coherence. They'd learned that psychological warfare could be just as effective as actual warfare, and there was something deeply unsettling about watching a ship flicker between existence and non-existence. The Galactic fleet's formation had frozen in confusion. Their neat attack patterns now looked like a cage, one they'd built around themselves. Chen couldn't help but appreciate the irony. Admiral, her tactical officer reported, the Galactic ships are powering up their weapon systems. Their quantum shields are at maximum. Chen nodded. Let them. Lieutenant Wang, prepare to demonstrate our phase-shifted weapons. Target their flagship's propulsion system. Minimal damage, maximum impact. The Nightshade's weapon ports cycled open, revealing arrays that seemed to bend light around them. The technology behind them represented humanity's greatest breakthrough, weapons that could exist partially out of phase with normal spacetime. Fire. A single projectile, glowing with an inner light that hurt to look at, launched from the Nightshade. The Galactic flagship's quantum shields, supposedly impenetrable to conventional weapons, might as well have been missed. The projectile passed through them without resistance, materializing fully only as it struck the ship's primary engine housing. The effect was immediate. The flagship's quantum drive sputtered and failed, its energy containment disrupted by the phase-shifted impact. The massive vessel began to drift, its previously elegant lines now marred by a precision strike that had bypassed all its defenses. "Open channel to the Valkyric flagship," Chen ordered. The alien admiral's face appeared on her screen, all four eyes wide with what she recognized as fear. "That was a warning shot," she informed him. "Your quantum shields are useless against phase-shifted weapons. Your sensors can't track our ships when we fully phase out. You have exactly one chance to reconsider your position on diplomatic relations." The Valkyric fleet's response came in the form of desperate action. Their ships opened fire, filling space with energy beams and quantum torpedoes. Chen watched calmly as her fleet executed their practiced response. All ships, phase shift to 80%. The human fleet flickered and seemed to partially vanish, becoming ghost-like silhouettes. The Valkyric weapons passed harmlessly through them, their energy dispersing into empty space. It was like trying to shoot shadows. "Their weapons are ineffective, Admiral," her tactical officer reported with professional calm. "Their targeting systems can't maintain a lock on our phase state." Chen allowed herself a small smile. "Begin attack pattern Delta. Show them what happens when you corner humanity." The Earth Defense Fleet moved like a choreographed dance, ships phasing in and out of normal space as they struck with surgical precision. Phase-shifted railguns bypassed shields to disable weapons. Quantum disruptor beams, fired from planes of existence slightly askew from normal space, scrambled the Valkyric ships' sophisticated targeting systems. The Valkyric fleet's formation broke. Ships began to retreat, their careful attack patterns dissolving into chaos. But Chen had anticipated this too. "Activate the quantum net," she ordered. Hidden projectors, planted throughout the battle zone weeks in advance, sprang to life. They generated a field that disrupted quantum drive signatures, preventing faster-than-light escape. The Valkyric fleet was trapped in normal space, their superior numbers meaning nothing against an enemy they couldn't effectively fight. "Sir," her communications officer called out, "we're receiving surrender signals from multiple Valkyric vessels." Chen watched as the mighty invasion fleet, which had arrived with such confidence, found itself completely at humanity's mercy. "Accept their surrender. Inform them that diplomatic negotiations will begin once they've powered down their weapons and shields." The battle, if it could even be called that, had lasted less than 15 minutes. Earth's quantum phase fleet had effectively neutralized an invasion force without a single loss of life on either side. It was a demonstration not just of superior technology, but of humanity's approach to warfare itself. Message from the Valkyric flagship. "Admiral," her communications officer announced. "Their admiral is requesting permission to come aboard. He says he needs to understand how we achieved the impossible." "Permission granted," Chen replied. "Have Dr. Chen meet us in the conference room. I think it's time we educated our galactic neighbors about the dangers of underestimating humanity's capacity for innovation." As she watched the Valkyric ships power down their systems in surrender, Chen reflected on the moment's significance. This wasn't just a victory for Earth, it was a message to the galaxy. Humanity wouldn't be subjugated or controlled. They had taken their place among the stars on their own terms, with technology that rewrote the rules of what was possible. The quantum phase fleet hung in space around the defeated Valkyric armada, their geometric hulls still shifting between states of existence. They were a testament to human ingenuity, a reminder that sometimes the best way to win a fight was to change the nature of warfare itself. Admiral Xerath felt distinctly uncomfortable as he materialized in the human vessel's teleportation chamber. The technology was familiar in principle but different in it. "While you saw our primitive chemical rockets and nuclear weapons," Admiral Chen continued, "we were studying your quantum shields, your FTL drives, your sensor systems. Everything you considered an insurmountable advantage, we turned into a weakness." Hathora sank into a chair designed to accommodate his alien physiology, another small detail that spoke to human preparation. but the energy requirements alone. Phase shift technology should be impossible without massive power generation facilities. Dr. Chen smiled. That's because you're thinking about it wrong. We don't generate the power. We harvest it directly from quantum fluctuations in spacetime. The more we phase out of normal space, the more energy becomes available. Impossible, Terath whispered, but without conviction. The evidence of human achievement surrounded him. Yet here we are, Admiral Chen said. Now let's discuss the future of human-Valkyric relations. We're not interested in conquest or retribution. What we want is recognition, not as a protectorate, but as equals. A hologram appeared, showing trade routes throughout Valkyric space. We've already mapped your empire's commercial networks, Dr. Chen explained. We believe our phase shift technology could revolutionize secure transport. Imagine cargo ships that pirates couldn't detect or intercept. Xerath's tactical mind raced ahead. You're offering to share this technology. Selectively, Admiral Chen clarified. We're proposing a true alliance. Your empire has centuries of experience in interstellar governance. We have innovations your scientists thought impossible. Together, we could reshape the galaxy. And if we refuse? The sisters exchanged glances. We demonstrated only a fraction of our capabilities today. Admiral Chen said quietly. We could have destroyed your fleet rather than simply disabled it. Remember that if the war hawks in your empire push for retaliation. But we prefer cooperation to conflict, Dr. Chen added quickly. Humanity's greatest strength isn't our technology. It's our ability to adapt, to find new solutions, to turn potential enemies into allies. Serath studied the humans with all four eyes, seeing them truly for the first time. Not as primitives to be conquered, but as equals who had outthought and outmaneuvered one of the galaxy's greatest powers. Their victory hadn't just been technological, it had been strategic, psychological, and absolute. I will need to consult with the Imperial Council, he said finally. But personally, I believe you've more than proven your right to independence, and your approach to alliance is intriguing. Take all the time you need. Admiral Chen replied. We've waited years to reveal ourselves. We can wait a little longer for formal recognition. As if to emphasize her point, one of Earth's ships in the tactical display suddenly phased out completely, vanishing from all sensors before reappearing elsewhere. A casual demonstration of power that made Xerath's scales ripple with newfound respect. The humans had changed the rules of warfare, yes, but more importantly, they'd changed the rules of first contact. For the first time in centuries, the Valkyric Empire found itself having to look up at a supposedly primitive species. And somehow, Xerath suspected this wouldn't be the last surprise humanity had in store for the galaxy. 3 months after the failed invasion, Earth's orbital space had transformed. Where once there had been only a scattered network of primitive satellites, now a steady stream of vessels from across the galaxy arrived daily. The secret of humanity's quantum phase technology had sparked a diplomatic revolution. Admiral Chen stood in the newly constructed Earth Diplomatic Center, watching as representatives from 24 alien species argued over trade agreements and technology exchange proposals. The massive window overlooking Earth showed both conventional ships and the flickering shadows of phase-shifted vessels moving through space. Quite a change from when they all thought we were primitive savages, Dr. Chen said, joining her sister at the window. The Valkyric Empire's report on our technology has turned Earth into the galaxy's most sought-after ally. And its most feared potential enemy, Admiral Chen added. Though that wasn't our intent. A holographic notification appeared before them. Another alien delegation requesting permission to enter Earth's space. This one from a species that had previously denied humanity's requests for contact, claiming they were too primitive for meaningful interaction. Funny how quickly attitudes change, Dr. Chen observed. But we've maintained our advantage. Even with the limited technical data we shared, no one's been able to replicate our phase shift technology fully, because they're still thinking like traditional spacefaring civilizations, a new voice added. Admiral Xerath approached, his movements now comfortable in human gravity. As the newly appointed Valkyric ambassador to Earth, he'd become a frequent visitor to the diplomatic center. They focus on the technology, he continued, not understanding that it's humanity's way of thinking that made it possible. My Empire scientists are still trying to understand how you made the conceptual leap to quantum phase mechanics in the first place. The sisters shared a knowing look. Humanity's greatest advantage hadn't been the technology itself, but the creative thinking that led to its development. While other species climbed the same technological ladder, humans had built their own. We're receiving reports from the outer system research stations, Dr. Chen said, pulling up a holographic display. The combined human Valkyric science teams are making breakthroughs in applying phase shift principles to other fields. Medical technology, energy production, even environmental restoration, and the military applications. Xerath asked, his secondary eyes tracking the movement of Earth's defense fleet. Remain strictly controlled, Admiral Chen assured him. The phase shift weapons technology stays with Earth. We won't risk it being misused. A flash of light outside drew their attention. A cargo vessel, using a simplified version of phase shift technology, flickered briefly before jumping to FTL. The new hybrid technology, combining human innovation with alien engineering, had already revolutionized interstellar commerce. The Galactic Council meets next month, Xerath said. They'll be voting on Earth's petition for full membership. After recent events, approval is virtually guaranteed. From primitive savages to full council members in less than a year, Dr. Chen mused. I imagine that's some kind of record. The fastest ascension in galactic history, Xerath confirmed. Though some species are still struggling to accept the change in status quo. They'll adapt, Admiral Chen said firmly. Just as we adapted when we realized we weren't alone in the universe. Change is the only constant. Humanity learned that lesson long ago. Outside, Earth's quantum phase fleet conducted training exercises, their ships dancing between states of existence. Each maneuver demonstrated the perfect blend of human innovation and discipline that had turned a supposedly primitive species into a galactic power. There's a saying from human history, Dr. Chen told Xerath. The more things change, the more they stay the same. The galaxy thought it had everything figured out. The strong dominate the weak. The advanced subjugate the primitive. We proved them wrong not by fighting those assumptions, but by simply making them irrelevant. A very human solution. Xerath agreed. My species has ruled through force for millennia. You conquered us without firing a shot, simply by being cleverer than we expected. An alert sounded softly. Another diplomatic delegation arriving. This one brought representatives from the furthest reaches of known space, drawn by rumors of the species that had reshaped the galaxy's balance of power overnight. Ready to greet our newest guests, Admiral Chen asked her companions. As they moved toward the reception area, Dr. Chen's hand brushed the quantum phase generator at her belt, a personal defense device that could shift her out of phase with reality if needed. They had shared much with their new allies, but humanity had learned to keep its edges sharp. The galaxy was changing, propelled by human innovation and adaptability. Species that had once looked down on Earth now sought its favor. Technologies once thought impossible were becoming commonplace. And humanity, far from being subjugated, had earned its place among the stars not through conquest or submission, but through the uniquely human traits of creativity, preparation, and the willingness to think differently. Earth's fleet maintained its vigilant watch, a reminder to the galaxy that humanity would never again be underestimated. They had turned the arrogance of advanced civilizations into the foundation of their own ascension. And somewhere out in the vast expanse of space, other primitive species watched and learned from humanity's example, that sometimes the best way to win was to change the nature of the game itself.